Hey guys! Welcome to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. All the details are in our video, so stay with us, and if you enjoy stories told with care and caution, make sure you're subscribed and share the video before we dive in. Thank you so much. Tonight, the name lighting up timelines is Barış Baktaş. A familiar face in Turkish television and music, and a figure whose private life has always stirred curiosity, he found himself at the center of a storm after a social media message, attributed to him, began circulating. The post, shared and reshared in countless screenshots, sparked intense conversation about his relationship with Yağmur Yüksel. What set the internet ablaze was the suggestion that their marriage, so celebrated by fans, may have existed more on paper than in lived, everyday emotion. Those who saw the message described it as sincere and unexpectedly vulnerable. The text, as paraphrased by followers who claimed to have seen the original, framed their union as a partnership grounded in mutual respect, even tenderness, but not a bond that could be sustained in the long term. The core idea that traveled across feeds was simple and heavy. At the beginning, there was happiness, and then, slowly, the reality of divergent paths settled in. The couple, while officially together, had grown into different people with different rhythms, and what once felt warm began to feel formal. The notion resonated with fans instantly. Supportive comments poured in, noting how fame can amplify normal relationship challenges. In the entertainment circles, well-known personalities began weighing in, some praising the tone of maturity, others reminding everyone that no one beyond the two involved can know the full truth. Industry watchers suggested that, after this wave of speculation, Barış would likely draw firmer lines around his privacy, and that both he and Yağmur might keep their personal moments far from the public gaze. As the hours turned into days, no definitive statement appeared on the official accounts of either party, leaving the conversation suspended in a space of empathy, doubt, and cautious optimism. Still, the story persisted because it wasn't the usual tabloid drama. It carried the echo of two people trying to do right by each other without feeding a spectacle. People who felt they understood the subtext interpreted it as a reminder that public images are curated, while real relationships are complex. In the mosaic of comments, one feeling stood out: respect. Respect for the idea that a romantic chapter can be meaningful and still come to an end, respect for the quiet courage it takes to admit that love and life don't always align, respect for the decision to keep the most private details private. Toward the end of the message being circulated, there was a line that readers repeated most often. No one can confirm its exact wording, but the sentiment landed. Sometimes life forces you to take a turn you never planned, and sooner or later, you choose the road that allows you to breathe. That single thought left a hush in its wake. Supporters wrote that it sounded like acceptance rather than drama, like someone acknowledging both the beautiful beginning and the complicated middle, then stepping carefully toward a different future. As coverage grew, a second wave of commentary re-emerged with similar themes. Again, the focus was on the same core revelation about the nature of the marriage between Barış Baktaş and Yağmur Yüksel. Observers emphasized that, at first, their connection had a glow that was hard to miss: smiles caught by cameras, quick glances in interviews, a chemistry that fans rally behind. But as time passed, according to the interpretations that spread online, what remained was a bond of decency and fondness rather than a deeply entwined daily life. The phrase many repeated, "on paper," became a metaphor, not an accusation, suggesting form without the fullness expected by the public. Fans responded with empathy rather than outrage. Messages filled with warmth thanked both of them for the memories they had shared openly and for the boundaries they now seemed to assert. The entertainment press, hungry for details, could offer only conjecture. In place of scandal, columnists found themselves writing about the quiet courage in recognizing when a relationship changes shape. Some insiders predicted that this could mark a new era in how both stars handle interviews, appearances, and social chatter: fewer public displays, more carefully edited glimpses. While no direct response came from Yağmur, her silence invited restraint from many of her supporters. Commenters, many of them young people who look up to the pair, asked others not to demand an explanation, insisting that the absence of a statement can be its own dignified answer. As the dust settled, the narrative began to feel less like a shock and more like a thoughtful page-turning. The air around the story wasn't thick with blame, it was tinged with a kind of melancholy grace. In the middle of all this, one sentiment continued to echo, that the private heart of a relationship belongs only to the two people living it. So while the public debate explored timelines and posed unanswered questions, the most compelling thread remained the same: two artists, two lives, navigating the difference between the picture we see and the reality they must honor. That is, perhaps, why so many came forward to say that if the message truly reflected Barry's feelings, it took nerve to be so direct, and it took kindness to keep the tone free of accusations. And if we return to the line readers kept sharing, that life can bend unexpectedly and that choosing a path is not betrayal but survival, we understand why the feed went silent after it. It wasn't a cliffhanger designed for clicks. It felt like a gentle close of a chapter. The suspense that followed was softer, the kind that simply waits for life to unfold at its own pace. Then came a third wave of retellings and reflections, reinforcing what had already been said. The story, now almost mythic in the way social media cycles repeat and reshape it, stayed focused on Barış and Yagmur. It shifted from shock to contemplation. Commentators began exploring how public couples balance duty and desire, expectation and authenticity. Many saw this as a parable of modern relationships under scrutiny, recalling how, at first, everything seemed light-filled and effortless, and gradually, the light changed, became more subdued, and respectful distance took the place of constant closeness. This wasn't the stuff of cruel headlines. Instead, creators posted long threads about how affection can remain even when romance recedes, how partnership can turn into friendship, and how legal ties don't always map onto emotional truth. Listeners and viewers chimed in with their own stories of relationships that began with fire and ended with quiet understanding. Rather than fueling speculation, the mood shifted toward empathy across the board. No matter the angle, the same sequence appeared: an initial confession-like ripple attributed to Barış, the acknowledgement, by those discussing it, that things had once been joyful, the acceptance that a relationship might continue in spirit but no longer in the same form, the chorus of support from fans, and finally, the prediction that both would step back from the noise to protect what remains personal. Each retelling carried its own inflection, yet they all returned to the same core: care, candor, and the delicate work of moving forward without tearing down what came before. As coverage approached saturation, the public seemed to agree on one point: until either Barış or Yagmur speaks directly, the respectful response is patience. People stopped asking for more and started sending gentle wishes. Posts turned into small notes of solidarity: may you both find the life that fits, may you both keep the good memories, may you both be free of the pressure to perform your heartbreak for the crowd. Even in the press, a more human tone emerged. The story stopped being a headline and became a conversation about the courage it takes to redefine a relationship on your own terms. Editorials talked about how rare it is to see a narrative avoid bitterness. They praised the way the dialogue, even in rumor form, eschewed blame. It felt like the moment when a very public couple quietly showed what boundaries look like. By the time the fourth wave rolled through, the narrative had settled into a steady hum. The same message kept being reframed: that somewhere between duty and desire, two people realized their lives were moving in different directions. The first days held joy and promise, later months asked for more than either could give without losing themselves. If there truly was a statement from Barış, its essence, echoed in every recap, wasn't grand or theatrical. It was simple. It expressed gratitude for the good, respect for the person beside him, and the clarity to accept that staying the same would not be honest. Fans responded in kind. Instead of demanding details, they wrote about the admiration they still felt for both. Influencers reminded their audiences that the tittiest stories are rarely the truest, that love can transform without disappearing. Private life became the theme: the right to grow, the right to be silent, the right to choose a path without offering a public map. Predictions hardened into a consensus that, going forward, the couple would likely keep any transitions quiet, and that the sparkle of their early days would live on without the need for postmortems or blame. And there, again, was the line, repeated, paraphrased, quoted and requoted, about life's sudden turns and the necessity of choosing one's way. It landed like a soft curtain call. Whether those words appeared exactly as they were reported almost didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the feeling they carried: acceptance, dignity, and the promise of two separate dawns that do not erase the night that came before. As we close this chapter on Turkish Spotlight Secrets, we return to what most viewers have been saying all along. If a relationship truly changes shape, it doesn't need to be a spectacle. If there was a heartfelt message behind the rumor, it showed that candor doesn't have to be cruel. And if the future is quieter for Barış Baktaş and Yağmur Yüksel, perhaps that's the bravest choice of all, to let life unfold away from the roar, with kindness intact and the door to peace held wide. Thank you for watching Turkish Spotlight Secrets. If you appreciated the thoughtful tone and the space given for humanity, subscribe and share. We'll be here, keeping an eye on what's public, respecting what's private, and bringing you stories with heart when the time is right.